أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Surah 58 Al-Mujadila. Title: This surah is entitled both as Al-Mujadila and Al-Mujadila. The title is derived from the expression Al-Mujadila, which is employed in its opening verse. The surah opens with reference to the woman who complained to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, against her husband, who was guilty of repudiating his marital tie, zihr. She insisted that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, suggest a way for her to escape the marriage and save her life and the lives of her children. Allah brands her insistence as Mujadila, from whence comes the title of this surah. Its variant, Mujadala, means disputing something, while Mujadila stands for an arguing woman. Period of revelation. No report indicates when the above incident took place. However, the internal evidence of the surah makes it certain that it must have been revealed after the Battle of Confederates, Al-Ahzab, in Shawwal 5 after Hijri. In Surah Al-Ahzab, Allah makes this observation about zihr. Allah has not made wives whom you compare to your mothers' backs to divorce them, your true mothers. Al-Ahzab 33:4. This verse, however, does not specify that zihar is a sin or crime, nor does it lay down any Sharia command regarding it. In contrast, in this surah, the entire law of zihar is spelled out. It is thus clear that this detailed ruling was sent down after the initial observation made in Surah Al-Ahzab 33:4. Subject matter and themes. This surah instructs Muslims in several issues faced by them. Verses 1 to 6 are devoted to Sharia rulings on zihar. Muslims are strictly warned that, even after embracing Islam, clinging to Jahiliyyah ways, transgressing the limits set by Allah, or refusing to abide by these and enacting some other laws in the face of divine laws are acts that run contrary to faith. The punishment for so doing is humiliation in this world and harsh questioning in the hereafter. Verses 7 to 10 censure the hypocrites' conduct of secret whispering among themselves, which culminated in their mischief-making. Out of their hostility towards the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, which they harbored in their hearts, they would greet him in the manner of Jews, which was more like cursing him. Muslims are assured that their whispering cannot harm the believers. They should carry out their mission while reposing trust in Allah. They are also given this moral precept that true believers do not resort to whispering about indulging in sin or injustice or disobeying Allah and His Messenger. If they discuss something in privacy, it should always be for a good, noble objective. Verses 11 to 13 impart some social norms to Muslims. They are directed to give up the social evils that marred the conduct of earlier communities, which even today are committing the same. For example, in a public meeting, if some arrive later, those already seated do not provide them with any space. As a result, the late arrivals are left standing and block the passage of others, and some may decide to leave. Some even trample upon those seated in order to occupy front seats. Such scenes were common at the Prophet's gatherings. Accordingly, Allah advises that His followers not act in such a manner, which betrays their selfishness and meanness. Those arriving late should be warmly welcomed. Another common weakness is that visitors to an important person might linger, perhaps not realizing that they are inconveniencing the host. On being told to leave, they feel offended. If the host leaves them, they consider it to be an affront. They disregard polite requests to leave. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, faced such misconduct. Those eager to prolong their company with him gave no thought to wasting his precious time. To put an end to this menace, Allah commanded that visitors should take their leave when a meeting is over. Another bad habit was that everyone wished to talk to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, in private or whisper to him in a public gathering. This offended both him and those present. Allah therefore commanded that those who intended to speak privately to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, should first give something in charity. This was to discourage people from this bad practice. This ban was in force for a short time only. as people mended their ways, this command was abrogated. Verses 14 to 22 plainly tell the Muslim polity of sincere believers and hypocrites the ideal of true faith. For some had friendly ties with the enemies of Islam and felt no qualms of conscience in being treacherous to their faith, notwithstanding their claim to faith. Some spread misgivings about Islam that prevented others from accepting it. Since such hypocrites were part of the Muslim polity, their lip service to faith acted as their defense mechanism. In contrast to them, there were true Muslims who disregarded their blood ties in matters of faith. They had no affection for those hostile to Allah and His Messenger. This surah makes it plain that notwithstanding their vows to be Muslims, these hypocrites belong to Satan's party. Allah's party comprises only those who are true and sincere believers. Allah is well pleased with them, and they will attain perfect felicity.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate.
قد سمع الله قول التي تجادلك في زوجها وتشتكي إلى الله والله يسمع تحاوركما إن الله سميع بصير.
Allah has surely heard the words of her who contends with you concerning her husband and complains to Allah. Allah hears what both of you say. Verily, Allah is all-hearing, all-seeing.
Concerning her husband and complains to Allah.
These verses were revealed in connection with the problems faced by a lady, Khola bint Ta'laba, whose husband had repudiated the marital tie with her by resorting to zihar. Khola inquired of the Prophet, peace be upon him, what the legal position was in that regard. The reason for the inquiry was that no clear injunction on the issue had until then been sent down by God. The Prophet, peace be upon him, declared that conjugal relations had become unlawful for the husband on account of zihar. On hearing this, Khola wailed and cried and said that that would bring utter ruin upon her and her children. At the very same moment that she was entreating the Prophet, peace be upon him, to suggest some way out of the impasse, God revealed these verses which embody the injunction relevant to the question.
الذين يظاهرون منكم من نسائهم ما هن أمهاتهم إن أمهاتهم إلا اللائي ولدنهم وإنهم ليقولون منكرا من القول وزورا وإن الله لعفو غفور.
Those among you who divorce their wives by declaring them to be their mothers, such are not their mothers. None are their mothers except those who gave birth to them. Indeed, what they say is highly contemptible and false. Verily, Allah is most pardoning, most forgiving.
Those among you who divorce their wives by declaring them to be their mothers.
It was common in Arabia that when a quarrel took place between the spouses, the husband would say to his wife in a fit of rage, "You are to me like my mother's back." This expression meant that sexual intercourse with her would amount to having sexual intercourse with his own mother. Such words are still uttered by ignorant and foolish people who, in the heat of a family quarrel, declare their wife to be like their mother or sister. This means that she ceases to be his wife and becomes like one of those women with whom marriage is unlawful. Such a pronouncement is called zihar. In pre-Islamic times, the Arabs considered this to be a form of divorce. In fact, it was considered an even more emphatic statement than the simple pronouncement of a divorce.
Verily, Allah is most pardoning, most forgiving.
Such a statement is highly reprehensible and calls for severe punishment of the person who pronounces it. Out of sheer benevolence, however, God abrogated this pre-Islamic law and thus saved people from the devastating consequences of zihar. Moreover, God laid down a punishment for those guilty of zihar. If we bear in mind the enormity of the guilt, the punishment that is laid down should indeed be considered light.
والذين يظاهرون من نسائهم ثم يعودون لما قالوا فتحرير رقبة من قبل أن يتماسا ذلكم توعظون به والله بما تعملون خبير.
Those who declare their wives to be their mothers and thereafter go back on what they have said shall free a slave before they may touch each other. That is what you are exhorted to do. Allah is fully aware of all your deeds.
Those who declare their wives to be their mothers and thereafter go back on what they have said.
This can mean either of the following two. One, if they wish to rescind their previous statement in order to offset its harmful effects, or two, if they wish to restore the lawfulness of their marital tie with their spouse, which had become unlawful because of their declaring their wife was to them like their mother.
Allah is fully aware of all your deeds.
It is possible that somebody might resort to zihar with his wife without publicly announcing it. He might also resume his conjugal relations with his wife later on without atoning for the sin he had committed by having resorted to zihar. It is stressed here that no matter how hard the person concerned might try to keep all this hidden from the rest of the world, God will doubtlessly know it, and it will be impossible for him to escape God's chastisement.
فمن لم يجد فصيام شهرين متتابعين من قبل أن يتماسا فمن لم يستطع فإطعام 60 مسكينا ذلك لتؤمنوا بالله ورسوله وتلك حدود الله وَلِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ.
And he who does not find a slave to free shall fast for 2 months consecutively before they may touch each other. And he who is unable to do so shall feed 60 needy people. All this is in order that you may truly believe in Allah and His Messenger. These are the bounds set by Allah, and a grievous chastisement awaits the unbelievers.
Shall fast for 2 months consecutively before they may touch each other.
That is, it is imperative that such a person should fast consecutively for 2 months before resuming conjugal relations with his wife. It is mandatory that during these 2 months there should be no interruption in fasting.
And he who is unable to do so shall feed 60 needy people.
The person concerned is required to feed 60 needy people to their fill twice a day. He, however, has the option to provide them cooked food or uncooked food. Moreover, he may feed 60 people all in one day or feed one person daily for 60 days.
All this is in order that you may truly believe in Allah and His Messenger.
Here, believing signifies believing truthfully and sincerely, rather than merely making a formal declaration of faith.
إن الذين يحادون الله ورسوله كبتوا كما كبت الذين من قبلهم وقد أنزلنا آيات بينات وللكافرين عذاب مهين.
Verily, those who oppose Allah and His Messenger shall be brought low, even as those before them were brought low. Surely, we have sent down clear signs, and a humiliating chastisement awaits the unbelievers.
يوم يبعثهم الله جميعا فينبئهم بما عملوا أحصاه الله ونسوه والله على كل شيء شهيد.
A chastisement that shall come upon them on the day when Allah will raise them all to a new life and will inform them of their deeds. Allah has recorded it all while they have forgotten it. Allah is a witness over everything.
ألم تر أن الله يعلم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ما يكون من نجوى ثلاثة إلا هو رابعهم ولا خمسة إلا هو سادسهم ولا أدنى من ذلك ولا أكثر إلا هو معهم أينما كانوا ثم ينبئهم بما عملوا يوم القيامة إن الله بكل شيء عليم.
Are you not aware that Allah knows whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth? Never is there any whispering among three, but He is their fourth, nor among five, but He is their sixth, nor fewer nor more, but He is with them wherever they may be. And then He will tell them on the day of judgment all that they have done. Surely, Allah knows everything.
Are you not aware? From here onwards, verses 7 to 10, the hypocrites are censured for the attitude they adopted in the Muslim society. Although they appeared to be part of the Muslim collective entity, they had secretly formed a group of their own apart from the community of believers. Whenever the Muslims saw them, they would find them conferring among themselves in hushed tones. It is in the course of these secret deliberations that they came up with the ideas as to how to sow discord and spread panic in the ranks of Muslims. In order to accomplish this, they contrived ever new schemes and invented as well as disseminated all kinds of mischievous rumors.
ألم تر إلى الذين نهوا عن النجوى ثم يعودون لما نهوا عنه ويتناجون بالإثم والعدوان ومعصية الرسول وإذا جاءوك حيوك بما لم يحيك به الله ويقولون في أنفسهم لولا يعذبنا الله بما نقول حسبهم جهنم يصلونها فبئس المصير.
Have you not seen those who were forbidden to whisper, and yet they engaged in what they had been forbidden? They secretly converse among themselves concerning sin and transgression and disobedience to the Messenger. And when they come to you, they greet you in a manner that Allah does not greet you, and say to themselves, why does Allah not chastise us for these utterances of ours? Hell it is that shall suffice them, and in it they will burn. How woeful is their destination!
And when they come to you, they greet you in a manner that Allah does not greet you. This practice was common among the Jews and the hypocrites. According to a number of traditions, some Jews came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and said, Al-Sam alayka ya Abu al-Qasim. They pronounced these words in such a way that people might be led to think that they were pronouncing the well-known greeting, Assalamu alayka. But in fact, they used the word Sam, which means death, instead of using the word Salam, which means peace. The actual meaning of the greeting they used, Al-Sam alayka, was death be upon you.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا تناجيتم فلا تتناجوا بالإثم والعدوان ومعصية الرسول وتناجوا بالبر والتقوى واتقوا الله الذي إليه تحشرون.
Believers, when you converse in secrecy, let that not be concerning sin and transgression and disobedience to the Messenger. Rather, converse concerning virtue and piety, and fear Allah to whom all of you shall be mustered.
إنما النجوى من الشيطان ليحزن الذين آمنوا وليس بضارهم شيئا إلا بإذن الله وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون.
Whispering is an act of Satan, one that aims at causing grief to the believers. Yet, without Allah's leave, no harm can be caused to them. So in Allah should the believers put all their trust.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا يفسح الله لكم وإذا قيل انشزوا فانشزوا يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير.
Believers, when you are told, make room for one another in your assemblies, then make room. Allah will bestow amplitude on you. And when it is said, rise up, then rise up. Allah will raise to high ranks those of you who believe and are endowed with knowledge. Allah is well aware of all that you do.
Allah will bestow amplitude on you.
One of the rules of decent behavior which God and His Messenger, peace be upon him, had taught the Muslims was that when any newcomer arrives, those sitting in an assembly should show deference to him and squeeze themselves a bit to make room for him. On the other hand, newcomers were required to act with grace and were asked not to forcefully press their way into any assembly, nor should they try to occupy other seats and thus make them leave the assembly.
And when it is said, rise up, then rise up.
That is, when people are asked to disperse, they should indeed get up and leave rather than keep sitting.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا ناجيتم الرسول فقدموا بين يدي نجواكم صدقة ذلك خير لكم وأطهر فإن لم تجدوا فإن الله غفور رحيم.
Believers, when you come to the messenger for private consultation, offer some charity before your consultation with him. That is better for you and more conducive to purity. But if you find nothing to offer in charity, then know that Allah is most merciful, most compassionate.
Offer some charity before your consultation with him.
Abdullah ibn Abbas mentioned the reason which led to the promulgation of this injunction. According to him, it was promulgated because people had begun to request the Prophet, peace be upon him, to grant them private audiences a little too frequently and without any genuine reason.
أأشفقتم أن تقدموا بين يدي نجواكم صدقات فإذ لم تفعلوا وتاب الله عليكم فأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأطيعوا الله ورسوله والله خبير بما تعملون.
Are you afraid that you will have to offer charity when you hold private conversation with the Prophet? But if you are unable to do so, and Allah pardons you, then establish prayer and pay zakah, and obey Allah and His Messenger. Allah is well aware of all that you do.
Allah is well aware of all that you do.
This is the second injunction that was revealed sometime after the first one. The second injunction abrogated the first injunction, which had made it mandatory to give some form of charity before a private audience with the Prophet, peace be upon him. There is a disagreement, however, as regards how long the first injunction remained in force. Qatada says that it remained in force for less than a day, after which it was abrogated. On the other hand, Muqatil ibn Hayyan says that it remained in force for 10 days, which is the longest period mentioned in any tradition.
ألم تر إلى الذين تولوا قوما غضب الله عليهم ما هم منكم ولا منهم ويحلفون على الكذب وهم يعلمون.
Do you not see those who took for friends a people whom Allah is wroth with? They neither belong to you nor you to them. They swear to a falsehood, and they do so knowingly.
أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا إنهم ساء ما كانوا يعملون.
Allah has prepared for them a grievous chastisement. Indeed, evil are the acts in which they are engaged.
اتخذوا أيمانهم جنة فصدوا عن سبيل الله فلهم عذاب مهين.
They have taken their oaths as a shield by means of which they hinder people from the way of Allah. Theirs shall be a humiliating chastisement.
لن تغني عنهم أموالهم ولا أولادهم من الله شيئا أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون.
Neither their possessions nor their offspring will be of any avail to them against Allah. They are the people of the fire. Therein they shall abide.
يوم يبعثهم الله جميعا فيحلفون له كما يحلفون لكم ويحسبون أنهم على شيء ألا إنهم هم الكاذبون.
On the day when Allah will raise them all from the dead, they will swear before Him as they swear before you today, thinking that this will avail them. Behold, they are utter liars.
استحوذ عليهم الشيطان فأنساهم ذكر الله أولئك حزب الشيطان ألا إن حزب الشيطان هم الخاسرون.
Satan has gained mastery over them and has made them neglect remembering Allah. They are the party of Satan. Behold, the party of Satan will be the losers.
إن الذين يحادون الله ورسوله أولئك في الأذلين.
Verily, those who oppose Allah and His Messenger will be among the most abject beings.
كتب الله لأغلبن أنا ورسلي إن الله قوي عزيز.
Allah has written, surely I will prevail, I and my messengers. Verily, Allah is most strong, most mighty.
لا تجد قوما يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر يوادون من حاد الله ورسوله ولو كانوا آباءهم أو أبناءهم أو إخوانهم أو عشيرتهم أولئك كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان وأيدهم بروح منه ويدخلهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه أولئك حزب الله ألا إن حزب الله هم المفلحون.
You shall not find a people who believe in Allah and the last day befriending those who oppose Allah and His Messenger, even though they be their fathers or their sons or their brothers or their kindred. He has inscribed faith in their hearts and has strengthened them with a spirit from Him, and He shall make them enter gardens beneath which rivers flow. Therein they shall abide. Allah is well pleased with them, and they are well pleased with Him. They belong to Allah's party. Verily, Allah's party shall prosper.